Welcome to this podcast, Mission GJ. At this time, we have our apostle, Erickson Salazar, and leader, Yisrael Silverio. How good, we're here flowing in the prophetic for the house. That's right. Leader Yisrael, how are you doing? Hi, very good, thank God. And we are very happy to have you here in the booth in order to hear your experiences, because what we enjoy the most in this segment is listening to the experiences of our members in this great body, Ministry Generation Joshua. So, Leader Yisrael, let us know what experience has impacted you the most here being fulfilled in the company of Apostle Erickson. Well, first of all, I want to thank for the opportunity to be here. It's a privilege for me to be here in this experience in the mission. And from all the missions that we have in this ministry, there is one that impacted me a lot. And it is working behind cameras at the podcast and prophetic dials. But I want to focus in terms of the podcast, which before working here, I used to always say, when the podcast got started, I used to say, man, when am I gonna be there behind the cameras, editing? When am I gonna do that? And then the day that I was called, I saw everything that rose up. And I know that we don't typically make a big deal about the things that rise up, but you imagine everything that happens, right? Or you can't imagine everything that's going to happen. You come with a good intention. Okay, what do I have to learn? We're going to do this here. And you put it together, but then all of a sudden, and it starts raining, or a dog starts barking, or a rooster starts, making noises at 2:00 in the morning. And the truth is that being part of that experience has helped me advance a lot. No one ever imagines, the way Israel says, we never make a big deal, right? Especially when it comes to going against evil. And how, when we do what we're supposed to do, who would imagine that so many things, so many manifestations take place? First, look at how interesting. He united with a team because he wanted. See, look how a person comes with all the disposition, and when they come to work with a team with diligence, which is a quality in him, then look everything that comes up. And he said, what is this? So what I would want him to say is what happens when all this comes up. We remain normal, like nothing's happened. We've set everything up 2 a.m, and then all of a sudden a storm has broken out where everything shakes and we have to take everything down. And then after it's over, we set everything up again. So it is powerful, this experience, because at the age that he has, which is a very young person, to be able to have that experience is so powerful, because that says a lot about where God's going to take him. And like I was saying at some point, you don't have experience because you don't assume any missions. And look how he himself says, well, I want it, until he was able to be part of the team. Of course, it's a process. It's a process where there's a lot of discipline and commitment, surrender. These are people that are totally, they're militants. They're like military in terms of consistency, agility, and commitment. And this is not wrestling. This is not the MMA. But I wanted to say that I've seen the growth of all those that unite behind the cameras, or people that are, in other countries, others that are editing, quality control. It's many people that are involved in all this. This is not done alone. This is a team, a great team. And there are many that are never directly there, but they're so important. Where, you know, they correct things in the middle of the night. It's a body. It's a body. And how powerful that in Yisrael's case, having this opportunity to be able to use his talents, but not just that. Something that he hasn't said is what he has learned. How, like it's happened with the majority of the people in this ministry, the ministry you come to serve, but then you end up being so good in what you do that now you work in what the ministry taught you. The great majority in this ministry today, they sustain themselves financially thanks to the technical formation that the ministry has given them. See how amazing. And I don't want to talk about people, but there are some that came where they learned something, they were formed, they became something in it, and now they left. It's a wound that I have. I'm a human being, but I'm healed now. I confess. It's easy, Yisrael says it's easy to want to give up and leave and not come back when you see all the things that come up. And Yisrael, when you see that all this happens, how does Apostle look? Is he like afraid? Does he look anxious? No. I wanted to talk about that too, that I've learned, you know, self-dominion that the apostle handles, or how he handles himself. And even in the case of, you know, the ambience, if I hear a car coming by, you know, I hear it in my headphones, which means that if I hear it in my headphones, you're hearing it as well. And you and Louis, you don't lose focus. I lose focus, but you are normal, like nothing's happened. Apostle says, in reality, believe it or not, it's not that I don't hear the noise through my headphones. I've always heard the noise of the enemy all my life. So we have to understand that the enemy always makes noise. The enemy always will catch your attention. And you said initially, you know, we didn't stop when you said it, but you know, you talked about how sometimes we are ready to record and then the dogs start barking and the roosters start crocodiling at 2 a.m, where typically that's not the case. And you say, okay, let's record, and then the noise begins. Where typically there's no noise because it's late. And also another case, Louis says, you've been sitting down for 15 minutes and nothing's happening. And the minute you say the keyword, let's start, then it all begins. That is the keyword for everything to begin. It's something spiritual, Apostle says. And all the members of Generation Joshua know, because I know everybody knows, that when they're going to read a prophetic word, you know, the attack comes, they get sleepy, or somebody calls them, or somebody takes their focus. Everybody knows. No matter what you do, because it's not just in this situation, in any situation that has to do with connection with the word, or to minister it, or to receive it, the spiritual world flips. It flips, and you know that it's a spiritual world. And what do? Well, we've taught here, the team knows, I do 2 things. One, I don't do anything. I take it easy, and I let the noise that might be happening to be over. Is it over? Okay, let's go. Like nothing happened. Because everything has to do with entertainment. And you have to be very patient, because where the dislocation comes is when you begin to move and get anxious. No, let it go. Let the noise go away. And this is like, okay, who's going to resist the most? The word says, resist the devil and he will flee. Resist. No, don't contend. Resist. So we have to understand that there is a time to resist, and we have to learn to resist. And that is what we teach. That this is not a pull and push, a push. No. We don't talk a lot. We don't talk with the enemy. And that's what it's about, you talking. Or maybe you even saying, oh, and now what? No, the minute you enter into that anxiety, you're giving the enemy right. No, you have to take it easy, chill, not enter in or start giving credit to the enemy. We've always said that we don't give credit to the manifestations of the enemy because, religion tends to talk about this happened and that happened, and they highlighted the enemy more than what God did. And it's sad. So, no, we don't need to be giving credit to the one that doesn't deserve it. The powerful things that we have to talk about, the wonders of God daily, the simple fact that we're breathing, it's a great miracle. Listen, people think it's simple, but to be able to breathe is a miracle that is so valuable that we receive from God, and that comes from God. For you to nourish yourself, for you to have health, in a world full of contamination, you have health. That's a miracle. So there's so much to be thankful for. Like Israel, that today is talking about how he wanted to be part of the team that handles communications. And he's not saying that he came to hang out or say, oh, it was so good and I saw the glory of God. No, he says war, battles, and violence. I love this lab because in this lab people come excited because obviously they don't know what they're going to do. And when they come, they enter into a lab where they're going to be brought to a spiritual maturity, high level. That's why the word says, Apostle says that the gold will be put through the fire to test it. So in that process of fire, all trash, everything that is not good in you goes away. Fear, insecurity, inconsistency, all those things. Because also, all of us that have started in this pathway, in the ministerial, we've learned many things. And it's a lot of things that you have to correct, begin, and you have to be very patient, very patient. It's not that you have to have patience, it's that you have to depend, because patience doesn't even have room here. We were talking the other day, remember, with Alfie about what happened in a Rosh Hashanah, that we lost all the audio. So what am I telling you is that these are things that you say, what? And that are very strange, because a leader like him that works in that environment and then things like that happen, well, that's where I'm going, that this is not about highlighting the big deal. It's the fact that we pushed through and that everything came out better than the way it was at the beginning. So at the end of the day, we are being exercised. And the enemy, within his plan that wants to dislocate us, he becomes our prop. The prop of our training. Did you say wow? You didn't even say wow. That was so good, Apostle says. So he becomes a prop. So you also learn a lot about yourself. You begin to have that awareness of the Spirit, because we begin with a good disposition, and we've always said that those that are diligent, the Spirit will trust them with more. And that's important. Those that are lazy, those that are negligent, they will never flow. The Holy Spirit will never trust them. That's why the one that got one talent, he hid it. The one that got 3, he multiplied it. The one that got 5, he multiplied it as well. When the Lord came, he took the talent from the one that had 1 and gave it to the one that had the most. Meaning that the diligent will always be sponsored by God. Okay? See how interesting all this is. That's why it's so important to make the seed flow. And that's what Israel did. He began at an early age in this pathway and has matured a lot, has grown a lot integrally, and that's powerful. And we see it because it's very nice to be in front of the camera, but the pre-production, post-production, it's a lot. It's something that you say, wow, God the Father. It's a surrender. It's a commitment. And it has to be for God. Because our ministry doesn't operate in any sort of, financial retribution. We don't do that with anyone. Everyone here does things for God. And you say, oh, no, not me. Okay, then take care. And then you might ask, okay, why like that? Because that's how we were trained, and that's how you will be trained. Nobody charged you for anything. So that's how it is. So it sounds like, why? No. The humanistic ones can think whatever they want, but the spirituals know that we liberate wealth when we give. The way we liberate wealth here is giving. And it's not giving money. You know why we don't talk about money in this ministry? Because it's too insignificant. You know why? Because it's more valuable. The person is more valuable than money. The money is one of the simplest things. You know, people say, I gave an offering. Oh, thank you for your handout. No, we don't want your handout. We want you. The sowing is you, yourself, integrally. And the Spirit will say what you will do. No, because I am engineering, quantic engineer, or you could be whatever you want, but He will say what you will do. Because it is Him who knows you, and it is Him who knows what He wants to liberate in you. Ask me why. Because God doesn't ask you because He needs, but He's to liberate in you. How does that sound? Now everything makes sense, Israel says, like Lewis says. God asks of us in order to give us. He will move you to do things, and you're like, why is God putting me in the cleaning ministry? He wants to teach you something in cleaning. And why did God put me here behind the scenes if I could be in front? He knows why He's working with you there. He's going to liberate something in you. The position where the ministry starts moving people, where after people finish the studies, they go to the School of Ministries, and from there they start serving. That's a process. But all that is designed with the biblical formats where Christ constituted the ministry, apostolic ministry, but in Acts you find a sixth ministry which was revealed by the Spirit to the apostles, and it was the service ministry. That ministry was for them to take care of all the technical of the ministry, and for those that were ministering, for them not to waste time and not pay attention to the preaching and the prayer. And Lewis says, of course, and Apostle says, don't say of course, say wow. Are you hearing this? Yeah, it's a work of a body. But Apostle says, but look how this ministry, the Spirit, assigned raising up somebody that was idoneous, somebody that was tested and faithful, somebody that was prepared. Listen, so everyone who comes to the ministry is formed and prepared so they can be faithful leaders, and then they're exposed to service. In service is where you will begin to create your spiritual character, and then the Spirit starts trusting you with more. This one, me, I went through every ministry. Any ministry you might name. Consolidation, everything. I was in the technical, I was in everything. Multimedia, music, everything. I've done everything. But it's because the Spirit trains you, and it's good. When you let Him train you, then with time you say, wow, look what it was for. It was for this. That's why you handle so many areas today, and and you're a good administrator of all those areas. Imagine. But in the moment, you see it like, isn't this a lot? Oh, but everybody wants to abuse you. No, nobody's going to abuse you. I knew that the Holy Spirit was training me and polishing me because He was testing me like gold. He was taking all the trash and all the things that were ruined that I dragged. Ego, pride, know it all. And I'm not talking about you, Yisrael. I'm talking about myself. Now we're talking about Apostle. I know that you were getting confused. He polished me. He took my ego. I even learned to respect those that work. I respect anyone in the ministry because you know what they're doing and what it's worth. The king's children are sent to work from the ground up, beginning from zero. Ask me why. Why, Lewis asks? Because they have to learn everything from the ground up. They have to learn their people. And that's why everyone that it's being taken from the ground up, we're letting you see the people that you're going to govern over. So for me to be able to accelerate that process, I need to surrender and assume that what I'm doing is for the Father. Everything that is delegated to you is for the Father. And to do it for the Father, you have to do it with excellence. But I'm going to talk about excellence. Excellence is not what you thought or what society says. Excellence is no more than assuming what you need to assume, and that's it. It's not doing it better than others. It's not doing it with better quality or investment. No, that's show. That's impressionism. Excellence is to do it exactly how he asked. That's excellence. And that excellence is consistency. It has sacrifice. That's excellence. It's not doing it better than others. That's tough. Okay? So we have to allow the Spirit to move us. How does the Spirit move me? Through the ministry. The ministry is the one that starts to expose you, because it's not by chance that you're exposed. You're being tested like gold. And we're going to check if it's real gold or if it's fake gold. It's a lot of fake gold here. Oh my goodness. Oh Lord. Okay, sorry guys. Edit this out, please. Please edit it. So, that is how you discover. Well, Gisrael says, excuse me. I talked about that, how we need to do things for God the Father. And then Apostle says, and you feel the burden. He puts the will in the doing, the wanting to do. Right now, we're in the midst of a similar miracle. We ourselves are experiencing a miracle right now because this recording should not have been happening for different reasons, for different situations. You know, we're tired. We came from a trip and came straight here. So, and you say, okay, don't do it. You just landed. You haven't slept. Well, he puts the wanting and the doing. Wow. This is not theory. We're not teaching you theory. We started with the fundamental, but in the practice, that's where the teaching takes value. In us seeing these miracles, you say, what did you get this strength for? Where do you get the strength from? And I say, I don't know, but I like it because it's miracles. Miracles and wonders. And we say, Holy Spirit, help me. I just arrived from another country. And I was telling the Holy Spirit, I was stuck because I had a lot of work and things came up that weren't in my agenda and I had to take them on because they were life or death. And I don't negotiate with that. And everything got complicated. Everything got together at once and everything was important. And I was like crying like a child. Holy Spirit, help me, please. Help me, Holy Spirit. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? But I'm appealing to a Holy Spirit. And what I'm asking is impossible. I didn't have to ask what I was asking for, but I didn't know how to do it. You're looking at the time, and I'm looking how many hours I have, and I'm looking at everything I have to do. Okay, but what am I going to do? God opened the sea for the people of Israel while they were being chased. So why can't God do it for me? Okay, help me. What do I do? I don't know what happened, but now with this recording, I have completed my great miracle. It's a sequence of miracles, Lewis says. Of course, and that's powerful because let me tell you, between you and me, and don't tell anybody, God has spoiled me. God has spoiled me. Because of the experience in the mission. Now you understand. I'm telling you an experience where I'm saying I know God. I've seen God stop storms. You've been exercising the experience in the mission, where you have a background of men that have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. So that in itself is a prerequisite for you to be exposed to other missions of higher ranking, like it happened in Vegas, which for Lewis was here at home, and then for you to be exposed, you were like, what? Because you thought that the international God was a different one from the local God. And then you begin a relationship with the Spirit, because we think that God doesn't have to do with the minor things. Yes, yes. And when your game is stuck, just talk to Him. Help me, God. And of course, you take it easy and you low key, and it's in silence. And you're following, again, because I always say everything has to do with the kingdom. Everything that I had to do was kingdom. And everything was stuck and everything was at once. And I said, nobody knew the battle that I was having. Nobody. And you and the Holy Spirit are just one-on-one. You're like, give me another body, Holy Spirit, give me another body so I can get this done. And everything worked out. Everything was done. Everything was done. We baptized, we had the meetings, we did everything. Consolidation, recording, and we produced, and we did everything. With 2 hours probably of delay that weren't here on time, but it's okay. This is free. This is free. So it's okay. When you pay, then, you can complain. And we won't fail to the schedule. But the important thing of it all is for us to get used to living in this atmosphere, in an atmosphere where you see that sponsorship, especially when you get into His things. I've always said it. Pay attention to His things and He will pay attention to your things. And what gives me the most delight is that you can be connected to the things of the kingdom and participating. Because believe it or not, prophetically, you guys being kids, I used to say to your parents, your kids are the ones that are going to do this. Now that your parents are not doing it because they're here with you. But for you to be integrated, you can't imagine how I live. I'm always living in a visual prophecy every day. I live in an atmosphere of joy where you're like, wow, they were kids and I used to tell them. And that's obviously of the Spirit. And I used to say your kids will be the ones that will do the work very strong. And today I see all of you, that the great majority that are around me were kids in the ministry. And today they're married, young, or, engaged, and you're working for the ministry with such commitment that it's unmatchable, with the same quality that I used to do when I was their age. And to me, that's like, I'm not going to say privilege. It is, but it's something very powerful. It's something that brings me to feel more and more grateful of God each day and to give Him more. And let's go. Because something that I've learned in the way is that instead of me complaining about what I don't have, I always have to rejoice of seeing the fact that every day one more person adds on. And that for me, that's enough. Because I always thought when I was in religion, I used to see people that used to do it all, and I got used to that, and I thought that was a calling. But when we started structuring Generation Joshua, and then through the knowledge, they started waking up, then I saw that I wasn't alone, that there were more people. That was so extraordinary. And I started saying, we are more. And I live more now. I live more, seeing children waking up more than children that are falling asleep. That fills me up. I feel like I've been paid because of that. And if that's me, who is a mortal, how much more God, who is receiving that worship through His Son. So, the Life Manual says that to all those that God has given and has prepared great things for them, if you don't give, you're not going to receive. That's why as a ministry, we are giving from what He has given us. So that's how we give, from what we have received.
Gracias por sintonizar nuestro podcast Misión GJ. Nos vemos en un próximo episodio.